See No Evil is a WWE production starring Jacob Goodnight, aka Kane. And this was a first time watch for me. I've heard about these films here and there. I've heard some people highly praise them. I've heard some other people speak very negative on them. But at the end of the day, I'm a slasher whore. You can hand me the worst slasher movie in the world and I will still watch it. I just love and appreciate the slasher genre, even if it is quality over non-quality. Here, I will still watch it. The more slasher films I can get in my life, the better my life will be. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into See No Evil. I will be doing reviews of both of these films. I've seen the first one and I'll be watching the second one right after this review. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. So starting off with a quick plot synopsis on what this film is about is we follow a group of prisoners who get sent to this hotel for 3 days to clean it out and fix it up. And by cleaning this hotel, they reduce their prison sentence by 1 month. And during their visit to the hotel, there's a psychopath waiting there for them, and the characters get killed off one by one throughout the runtime. Pretty generic story, right? Now jumping right into the positives of the first See No Evil, and easily the biggest positive I took away from this movie is Jacob Goodnight. He gives the best performance in this movie, and he's easily the most enjoyable factor of this movie as well. He's very threatening and intimidating when he is on screen. He's not on screen probably as much as you would think, but the scenes that he is in, he does steal and chew up the scenery. This is much more of a physical performance. He doesn't have many lines of dialogue. I think he only speaks 3 words throughout the entire film, and just his presence just leaps off the screen, and he gives a very unpredictable performance as well. There's not much emotion on Jacob Goodnight's face, and I think to me that adds to his character. That this guy has seen some shit and this guy has gone through some shit himself. There is kind of an origin story here. I say kind of very lightly because it's more teased in here rather than an actual fleshed out origin story. But when he is chasing after these characters, this is a guy you really don't want to mess with, and his scenes were the best scenes in the movie. And now the second positive I can say about See No Evil is the environment here. The hotel is a very interesting concept, because I think it creates a very uneased and claustrophobic setting, because there's only so many doors you can run through before you reach a dead end. And I think that does make for some intense sequences throughout the film, and I think the set design as well. There's spider webs all over the place, and there's dust. It does make it feel like it is a lived-in environment, and it does feel like this is an appropriate setting for a slasher film, and it creates a very eerie atmosphere throughout the film as well. So so props to that, and some of the stuff that they do with this hotel that you do find out throughout the film, I really dug as well. The hotel is rigged with booby traps, and there's some really cool stuff that they do there. And now my final positive, and yes, my final positive is the kills. I would put this probably more in the mixed section, and I'm about to get into why. While this film does have a lot of on-screen kills and deaths, and there is a lot of on-screen carnage and gore, it's the exact same shit you have seen in every slasher movie for the past 20, 30, 40 years. It's just stab, move on to the next person. Stab, move on to the next person. Stab, occasionally there's some creativity with the kills. Like there's this one chick, that loves dogs, and so her death is she gets eaten alive by dogs, which is a pretty gnarly kill in the film, and there's eye gouges, and all of that is on screen, and that looks great as well, and it's disgusting, it's horrific, and it's very effective for the film that they are making. But at a point, you are just thinking of 1,000 other slasher films that one have better kills than this, and you've seen these kills before, done better. This film doesn't really stand out, amongst the kill count of decades of slasher films. It just doesn't. There's some peak of creativity, but it's so minor in the film that it's almost worth not even crediting, because there's like 2 kills I can actually think of, that were actually effective and creative. But nevertheless, on-screen gore is always good gore in my eyes, and especially being, it's better to have gore in a slasher film than it be, a PG-13, slasher film that's just very tame. So I will give the film credit where credit is due on that. And now, moving in to the negatives of See No Evil. Oh boy, where do I start with this? This is the most generic slasher film you can possibly get. This is the most run-of-the-mill slasher film ever. If you think something is going to happen, it's going to happen. This film just follows trope after trope after trope after trope after trope. This film does nothing to set itself apart from the slasher genre. It's every other slasher film, as I was just complaining about. I'm going to continue to complain about it here. This film does nothing for it. If you think something's going to happen, it happens. This film is so predictable, and you can see all of the twists happening from a mile away. And the ending, I was like, okay, we're still lingering on this shot here, and oh, good, the killer's back. If that's right, we have an ending in here where you think the killer's dead, it tries to catch you off guard, and then bang, no, the killer's still alive. Fuck off. We've seen those endings. Just stop it. I understand this is 2000s, slasher films. I know that was a very popular ending, but fuck, can we just stop? You're telling me you could not think of anything any better than that ending? Almost anything is better than that. But anyways, and now following on from that, the story to this film, this is a very one-dimensional story. We literally have a killer in a house hunting down a group of prisoners. That's the story in a nutshell. And just at a point, the movie is just so repetitive because it's scene after scene after scene of the exact same shit. It's the exact same scene, just with a different character. That's it. And just, this story, there's themes in here, but they just don't do anything. They just don't tie into it. So I don't know, the story in this film just really did not work for me. I mean, it works as a slasher film, but if you want, it's not too much to ask, I don't think, for a good story, which this film doesn't have. Especially if you're a writer, you should be able to look at a story and and kind of layer it, or at least add dimensions to it where there's something more than just face value. This story is just face value. Now, moving on from that is the characters, and the characters in this film, same as the story, they are one-dimensional. They're people that have a past of shoplifting and all of this other dumb shit. None of that matters after the first 5 minutes. That never comes back into play. There's no redemption arc for any of these characters. Like, by the time you and it's also weird because if these people are criminals, why should we as the audience give two shits if they get killed off by this psychopath? This movie does nothing to make you care for these characters, which then just brings up another problem for me, which is the tension. There's no tension in this movie. I did not care shit for any one of these characters. These characters were just cardboard figures. And, the movie is trying so hard to make me feel tense. There was one scene where there was a little bit of tension, but that was it. That's maybe like 2 minutes out of a 90-minute movie. If that's all your movie has as far as tension, you've failed big time there, man. But yeah, these characters there's no personality to them. There's no likable characteristics to them. They're just people who you want to get killed off. And all of the characters are very stereotypical as well. We have the whore-based, female character here who wants to, sleep with everyone. We have multiple douchebag characters in here, so it's really stereotypes from, once again, decades of slasher films. We've seen these characters before. That's no surprise there. And I actually looked up the writer of this film prior to doing this video, and this is actually written by someone who wrote an episode of SmackDown. What a surprise, that guy doesn't have any talent with writing feature films. Yeah, man. Yeah, characters didn't do shit for me. And you look at these actresses and you look at these characters, like the characters don't even fit the characters they're actually playing. I have a hard time believing any of these characters would be in prison. And then on top of that, the reason why they're in prison, there's a quick little text that comes on screen to give you a rundown of why they're in prison and what they're in trouble for. And even that, I don't think you would be in jail for, I could be completely wrong, but yeah, I just don't think you would be in prison for this type of shit. It's like the most basic stuff of shoplifting. You could have gone a bit further and been oh, he stabbed his best friend, but no, just once again, face value shit. She shoplifts. This other character did that. I'm probably thinking way too much of the story there, but so yeah, the characters don't work as the characters they're portraying. And then on top of that, the actresses and actors you have playing these characters don't work for the characters that they are playing. I don't believe any of these actresses or actors that they got would be like the characters that they are playing. I know everyone just feels very miscast in this film. Everyone just feels innocent, and I don't know if that was the movie's intention, but that's what it came across as. Let's see. This film feels more like a Saw film. which, I love the Saw films, but this film, it has, the quick cut editing from those films. It has like a green filter over it in some scenes. It has the very dirty, grimy feeling of a Saw film. If this film wasn't called See No Evil, I'll be honest, I would believe that this is a Saw film with a psychopath in it. Anyone else out there, or is that just me? And yeah, that's another negative as well. The editing butchers this movie. I don't know who the hell you got to edit this movie, but my God, this movie is cut to absolute shit. It is baffling to me. Just when you get sucked into any scene in this movie, you are immediately brought back out because of the goddamn editing. There's a lot of weird shots, that they do in here of just like people's faces and people's reactions that just feel out of place, and it's, I don't know. The editing is just very inconsistent, and actually, to me, it ruins the movie. The direction here is competent. The guy wasn't handed a great script, but for what he was able to do, this guy doesn't have a massive filmography by any means, but I would say he's competent, in his job here. I really don't know. Dialogue is shit. Script is really bad in this movie. I do want to talk about that for a second. The script is really bad. Okay, we have a character who has a cell phone and apparently has service when the psychopath is killing everybody off one by one. My God. Did you ever think to call the police? Call the fucking cops. If you have bars, if you have a signal, and you have a working fucking cell phone, call the goddamn cops, you bitch. Oh, these characters just make the worst decisions. Like, I swear to God, like, if there was an award category called Worst Characters of the Year, this movie should have won. These characters are insufferable. Like, they do everything wrong. Like, if they hear a noise, what do they do? They go and investigate that sound. Oh my God. I don't get it. I don't get it. And that's, okay, having unlikable characters, sure. But making characters that are this unrealistic and that are literally set up to die is incredible to me. And just, like, that's why you don't care. These characters, okay, if you have a character who's smart enough to shoplift and be quiet, these characters are the most loudest motherfuckers in the world. When the psychopath is going around trying to find them, guess what these characters do? They shout every word of dialogue. I am not kidding you. They're trying to project the goddamn psychopath to them. These characters don't have a brain. These characters are fucking robots. Oh my God. And the ending was complete shit. This whole movie was complete shit. I'm never going to watch this movie over a dozen other slasher movies. I'll watch those hands down compared to this any day of the week. So anyways, guys, that is my review for the first See No Evil. I will be back in the next couple of days to review See No Evil 2. I'm gonna watch it tonight, and then I might do the review tonight. I might not. I might wait till tomorrow because it's almost 11 o'clock here. So and I still have one more movie to get through. So will see how I go, see how I'm feeling. But yeah, avoid this one at all cost.